What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Shelves. If you're new to this channel or new to this video, this is my Blu-ray and DVD haul update video. This is where I go over all the Blu-rays and DVDs, pretty much all Blu-rays, let's be honest, that I bought over the previous month, give quick little reviews on them and tell whether or not you should go out and buy it, see it on Netflix, or skip the movie altogether. So, pretty good little haul this month. Let's start off with Steelbooks. Why not? Let's start off with Steelbooks. So Best Buy had a little end cap where they were selling some Steelbooks for all the Transformers movies, which I will not be purchasing ever, and some other classic movies that I did not have a part of my collection yet. So I figured now's a good time to check them out. Now, the first two movies here, do not scream at me in the comment section, but I have actually never even seen before. So this is part of the reason why I bought it. Why have I never seen these before? I have no idea. I don't have a good excuse for you. Just can't see everything. So eventually I will be adding these to my little mental box of movies that I've seen, but as of right now, I have no opinions on these movies. Can't give you a review on them, but I've bought them. Now here's the big one. Don't hate me. Saving Private Ryan. Never seen it before, I'm sorry. But I have the steelbook for this. Really badass steelbook. It looks like a little ammo cartridge box, so a really cool steelbook. And it's known for being one of the best war movies ever. I'm not a big war movie guy. That's probably why I haven't seen this yet. You know, I loved Hacksaw Ridge. I love the first half of Full Metal Jacket. I love The Patriot. So I don't have a ton of experience with war movies, but I'll definitely be checking this one out. Next one, I have not seen any of the Jack Ryan movies except for the most recent one with Chris Pine, which wasn't very good. And this one is always pretty much what I see as everybody saying is the best one. That's Patriot Games with Harrison Ford, another really cool steelbook. It's got artwork going all the way around it. I'm interested in checking this one out. I know Sean Bean's in it, so I'm guessing he's either a villain or he dies in the first 15 minutes. So checking out that one. This one here, War of the Worlds, a movie that I've always liked pieces of. I like the looks of the ships, I like some of the elements of this movie, but it's definitely one of Steven Spielberg's worst movies. This is going to be a see it on Netflix, absolutely. It's not a great movie by any means. I saw this in theaters when it first came out. It's got a lot of really weird conveniences in it. It's got a lot of plot holes in it, a lot of logic that you really have to suspend your disbelief for, and that's just not what you expect from a Steven Spielberg movie. So Tom Cruise is good in it. It's got a lot of great special effects. There's some really tense, horrific moments in it, but not a great movie by any means, but I enjoy it enough to buy it, so added that one to my collection. And the last one, this is a big one because for the first time in my life, I bought a movie that I was sure when I was at the store that I did not already own, came home, and it turned out I already owned it. So I guess that is the tipping point for me having too many damn Blu-rays. If this finally happened and I did not hear the end of it from Holly. So, World War Z, another movie that I'm not overly fond of. For some reason, I already bought it probably for a $5 bargain bin or something like that. It's an okay zombie movie, let's be honest. It's the highest grossing zombie movie ever for some reason, so it gets a lot more acclaim than it deserves to me. Brad Pitt is fine in it, but honestly the story of this movie is, it's like Brad Pitt goes to New York, zombies come, he escapes. Brad Pitt's on a plane, zombies come, he escapes. Brad Pitt's in Africa, zombies come, he escapes. And you know, the special effects on it, they're pretty good. It's really super fast, ant-like zombies, which is different. And some of the elements of this are pretty cool. It's an entertaining movie. It's not my favorite zombie movie of all time by any stretch of the imagination. So check it out on Netflix if you haven't seen it. And the only reason I bought this again is because, or that I bought it for the first time thinking that I never bought it before, is because I'm really curious about watching this again, getting ready for World War Z 2, which apparently David Fincher is going to be doing. So that intrigues me 1,000% more than I was about the rest of this series as it goes on. Moving on to 4K releases. We'll save the new releases for last for a change. So I got 5 4K Blu-rays that I wanted to double dip in and add these to my collection. The first one is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, I like this movie more every time I watch it. I was not fond of it in theaters at all. The Ultimate Edition is definitely the one to watch. Even though it's 30 minutes more, it feels 30 minutes shorter because there's so much storyline and so much more coherence in that Ultimate Edition that makes it such a better movie. And you know, there's no taking away from it. Zack Snyder films great action sequences. The special effects in this movie are awesome, especially the Batman warehouse scene. And I don't hate on the Doomsday fight. I think he could have looked a little bit better, but I don't think he looked terrible. So I wanted to see this in 4K. Haven't had a chance to check out the 4K yet, but definitely wanted to add that to my collection. Next up from that is a badass movie that is the ultimate crime. This has not and probably will never get a sequel, and that is Dredd. I love the shit out of this movie. I actually did rewatch this one a couple nights ago, and it's still as awesome as ever. It's a little bit like The Raid, But this is just such a great movie. It's one of the best comic book movies ever, and I actually kind of kicked myself in the ass for this not being in my top 5 comic book movies. So maybe eventually I'll do another top 5 rundown revisited, where I do another top 5 comic book movies of all time, and this will definitely be on that list. It's action-packed, it's bloody, it's got awesome performances in it, especially Carl Urban as Dredd. Like, I love the scene whenever he's like, "Mama is not the law, I am the law." Like, he just embodies Judge Dredd. Now, I know they got a TV series coming out, Mega City 1 or something like that, and they're talking to him about possibly reprising this role. If he does, I cannot wait to see that show. If he doesn't, I don't really have too much interest in it, because to me, Carl Urban is Judge Dredd. If you have not seen this, absolutely go out and buy it. And Batman v Superman's a check it out on Netflix. I forgot to give that one a little bit of a rating. So, next up is Ex Machina. Now, this is a really interesting movie. I bought it on Blu-ray before ever seeing the trailer, before seeing it on DVD, or seeing it in theaters or anything like that, because everybody was talking so much about this. And I liked it the first time I saw it. I wasn't over the moon about it, but it's one of those movies that sticks with you, and you keep thinking about it. And every time somebody brings it up, you start thinking about it more. And it's one of those movies that the more it marinates in your head, the more you like it. So I decided to give it another shot, give it the 4K purchase, which, to be honest, it's not the best 4K release as far as the remaster on it. It doesn't look bad by any means. I mean, it's going to look great no matter what. It's at least a 2K scan, but there was elements of this where it didn't quite look as fluid or as sharp as I was hoping for a 4K release. So that's a small negative, but as far as the movie, it's absolutely a go out and buy it, because I watched it a second time not too long ago. I think last weekend I popped this in after I bought it, and this movie is just so damn good. It's such a great sci-fi movie. It's really tense. It's really subtle. Great performances all around. I mean, you got Oscar Isaacs, you got Alicia Vikander, and the role that kind of gave her all the attention, except for the one that she won the Oscar for. I think she should have won the Oscar for this, to be honest with you. And it's just a great story. It's basically just this Bill Gates guy, basically, is what he is. Oscar Isaacs, he's the big CEO of this big company that's very similar to Google. He gets this young guy to come in. He frames it like it's this contest winning thing where you can come and hang out with me for a weekend on this huge resort. And it turns out he's got him at this resort so that he can kind of analyze this artificial intelligence played by Alicia Vikander that he has created, to see whether or not it's true artificial intelligence or not. And it just goes to some crazy places. So I'm going to shut up about this because I want you to go in blind. If you do want to see it, definitely go out and buy this. Great movie. Moving on from that is 2 movies that apparently came out a couple of weeks ago, but I just saw them this past Friday when I went to Best Buy, and this was an instant buy for me. Even if I had no money in my wallet, I would have went on the street and begged for change to buy these, because I love the shit out of these movies. And I'm going to talk about them both together. That's Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, finally getting a 4K release. Now, again, similar to Ex Machina, this is not like a true 4K remaster. It's kind of like a 2K enhanced, and it still looks incredible. Like, I would still recommend go out and buying these as a 4K upgrade, but eventually down the line they'll probably give a better one. So kind of know that going in if you're going to go spend the money on these. I think it's worth it, but not everybody will. Now, Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a huge surprise for me because I did not expect too much from that movie. I think it was going to be cool. You know, the trailers look interesting, but I did not expect it to be as good as it was. I loved the hell out of it. That movie is an absolute go out and buy it. Just the way that they made you care so much about a CG character of Caesar, played by the great Andy Serkis. I mean, the godfather of performance capture. I mean, this is just such a technological marvel, such a storytelling marvel, such a great movie. And it kicked off one of the best. I'm still yet to see War of the Planet of the Apes, but from everything I'm hearing, I know I'm going to love it. So kicking off one of the best trilogies of all time. Now, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I had a hard time believing that you could top Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And Dawn of the Planet of the Apes leaps and bounds is better than Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is almost an impossible feat. So this is, again, absolutely go out and buy it. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is one of my favorite movies of all time. Honestly, this movie is so damn good. I rewatched it last night. It is so engaging, so emotional, so enthralling with the way that they tell this story about this ape community. And they speak through sign language. They speak through really small broken English, and their intelligence has gained a little bit since Rise. And it's just such a great story. Like, again, like everything they did in Rise about making you care about CG characters, about really telling the storyline through the eyes of Caesar, they did it leaps and bounds better in this. You have a great villain in Koba, which is one of the most sympathetic villains ever, because you totally understand, even though he's evil as shit, you still completely understand why he sees things the way he does about humans. and it's just such a great culmination of that kind of split between Caesar and Koba all the way through this movie. The split just gets greater and greater and greater until it goes through to this huge epic climax. I love the special effects in this. Even the human characters are great. You've got Jason Clarke, you got Kerry Russell, you got the great Gary Oldman. I mean, everything about this movie is flawless. The only small negative I have in it is the character who's kind of like the asshole human, because he tacks it on and he lays it on really thick that he's the unlikable asshole. That's the small flaw with this movie. But I mean, I can't talk enough about this movie. If you have not seen this, just stop the the video right now. Go buy this movie, watch it, and then come back and hit play, because this is absolutely worth your attention. And if it wasn't for the fact of that being an older movie, that would be my pick of the month, but I'm going to save it for a new release. Now moving on to new releases. I have a full review for pretty much every one of these movies, except for, well, a couple of these I don't. So you can check those out as well if you want. A Cure for Wellness. Now, I have not rewatched this movie since, but it's a really interesting kind of gothic horror thriller movie. You got Dane DeHaan, who basically goes to this gigantic castle, which is this wellness center, looking for the CEO of his company, and things just get really strange and sinister the more he's there. There's this water that everybody drinks. Everybody seems almost catatonic. You've got, I forget the actor's name, but the guy who's kind of like the head of the place, he's the villain in The Patriot. He does really well, and it's just a very strange, visually stunning, and just eerie movie. Now, the problem with this movie is that it drags so much. It's at least 30 to 40 minutes too long. It's a little bit overindulgent to me from Gore Verbinski, but it's really worth checking out. I'm going to say see it on Netflix, because I think I gave it see it in theaters at Matinee, and that's kind of, if it's a movie that's already out, that kind of tips the scale a little bit towards Netflix. But it's a really interesting movie. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it. So it's one of those things where you watch the trailer. If it intrigues you enough for the trailer, definitely check it out. If it looks like it's going to be a little bit outside of your wheelhouse, probably is going to be outside of your wheelhouse. But I thought it was cool enough to check it out again. Have yet to see it again to see if my rating holds up, but really interesting movie. Moving on from that is kind of a leftover from last month, but I hadn't watched it yet, and I watched it not too long after filming my review, or filming my off the shelves for last month, so I wanted to save it till this month, and that's Fist Fight. Now, this is one of those comedies I didn't get a chance to go see in theaters. I always like Ice Cube as a comedic actor, because he's got a lot of charisma with being kind of the angry black guy, and they even joke about that in 21 Jump Street, kind of his stereotypical role. And Charlie Day is funny enough. I'm not a fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Not that I don't like the show, I just never watched it. But I liked him a lot in Horrible Bosses 1 and 2, so this was curious enough for me to check it out. And it's a decent enough comedy. I mean, there's more jokes in the first 5 to 10 minutes that made me laugh than the rest of the movie. There's some good comedy here and there, especially with Ice Cube. And I really like seeing Hank Norris, the guy who plays Hank in, or Dean Norris, the hell am I talking about? Dean Norris, the guy who plays Hank in Breaking Bad, is kind of the principal of the school. It's fun enough. I would say see it on Netflix and wait. It's not a bad comedy by any means, not a great comedy. Comedies are kind of dying out for me nowadays. There's never really a comedy that just honestly makes me laugh anymore. And it's good enough. It's really raunchy. It's rated R as hell. So, funny enough to check out. Just check it out on Netflix. Moving on from that, Beauty and the Beast. Now, this was the movie that I was interested enough to see it, but I was basically dragged to by Holly because she is a Disney fanatic. And this movie was decent enough. I didn't grow up loving Beauty and the Beast. I was always more of an Aladdin and the Goofy movie kind of guy than I was Cinderella and Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and all that. But it was a good enough live action retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It seemed a little bit dragged out, a little bit long. I think they really, really, really overplayed the whole thing with LeFou being a gay character, and they made it like this big controversy when it's barely even there. Like, you could barely even call him a gay character in the movie. There's small little jokes and subtle hints towards it, and they blew it up like it was this huge storyline in the movie. So that's another subject altogether. But Emma Watson was good. Dan Stevens was pretty good. I still think that the Beast should have been practical effects and not CG, but nonetheless, this is what we got. It's a fun enough movie. If you love Beauty and the Beast, the animated cartoon, I'm sure you're really going to like this. For me, it's a seat on Netflix because, again, it's a movie that I think is a good movie. Am I going to rewatch it again? I'm sure at some point I'm going to have to rewatch it with Holly, let's be honest, or my kids. But it's not a movie that really is my kind of movie that I would just want to go and revisit over and over and over again. So check it out on Netflix. The Lego Batman movie. Holy crap, I love this thing. This is probably my number 5 as far as my top movies of the year so far. Just everything about this movie, you can tell, was made by Batman fans for Batman fans. There is really a huge, deep understanding of Batman and the comedy that was written for this movie. You get all the DC characters you could want in this, all of the Batman jokes, all the Batman references. They talk about just about every single one of the live-action movies. Just such an enjoyable movie. If you love the Lego movie, you're going to love this one just as much, possibly even more if you're a Batman fanatic like me. Cannot wait for a sequel to this. I thought this was so much fun to see with my family, and it is an animated movie that I will revisit time and time again, so cannot recommend this one enough. Go out and buy it. Lego Batman movie is the shit. And that would have been my pick of the month if not for this movie, which is the movie that just got edged out as my number 2 favorite movie of the year by Baby Driver. So this is now my number 3 movie of the year, John Wick Chapter 2. Now, I really liked the first John Wick a lot. It was a huge breath of fresh air, just a bare bones, classic, back to basics, kick-ass action movie. The only thing that held that movie back for me, honestly, is the end fight between him and the Russian gangster, because it always bothers me when I watch it. So this is a small tangent, but fuck it, it's my show. Basically, the whole movie, he's killing people left and right, effortlessly. You know, just taking people out left and right with not a bead of sweat, not an ounce of energy expelled. And then you get to the end, and this older Russian guy who's already injured is going to give him a fight and give him a run for his money and almost mortally wound him. That always bugs me when I watch that movie. None of that is in this. The action is cranked up even more. John Wick is awesome. Once again, this is like one of Keanu Reeves' roles that he will be remembered for, and he's kind of an underrated action star because, you know, he's done a lot for the action genre. You got Speed, you got Point Break, you got Matrix, you got this. So when people talk about action stars, they always talk about Arnold, Stallone, Van Damme. Keanu just deserves to be part of that conversation, honestly. And maybe by the time this trilogy of John Wick movies wraps up, he will be part of that conversation more often. I love how they expand the lore of the Continental, the hotel, and how kind of this world of assassins works together. Just everything about the first John Wick that I loved. To me, this movie ramped it up to 11. I thought it was damn near flawless. I felt like the, what the hell is her name? Ruby Rose. I thought the Ruby Rose character was a little strange, how she would speak in sign language for no reason, and just it was just a weird character. And by the end, they build up the whole movie that she's going to be this huge force to be reckoned with by the time she finally confronts John Wick. And, you know, spoiler alert somewhat, but I'm sure you can predict this from the fact that there's a third movie. He whoops her ass in like 2 seconds, so it's not really like, it just builds up to nothing. That was my small flaw with the movie, so I got a full review out for this. You can check that out, but this movie is absolutely worth going out and buying, so pick of the month, baby. Go out and buy it. And the final movie this month rounded it all out. I did not get a chance to do a full review of this because this movie is sold out and sold out and sold out to the point where when I finally got to see it, it made no sense to do a review for it anymore. So I waited and talked about it in the good, the bad, and the awesome video. But I'm bought it, people, and that is Power Rangers. Now, Power Rangers to me was a big part of my childhood, at least the first incarnation of Power Rangers. Whenever they started going into, like, you know, Power Rangers Neo and Dino Force and Turbo, I never watched any of those, but the original show I watched a lot. I watched the original movie. I even saw the Turbo movie, and this was exactly what I wanted out of a reintroduction of the Power Rangers. It's a really modern take on it. This movie was an absolute blast to go and see. Bryan Cranston's great as Zordon. All the kids are really fun and engaging. There's some really sharply written dialogue, and I just liked a lot of what they did to bring this into the modern age. They really upgraded it, they really updated it, they really brought it into something that's appealing for kids that never watched that original cheesy ass show. The only negatives that I had for this was all surrounding the third act. The third act to me got into this big CGI robot battle, and it just wasn't as fun as the first 2 acts. It felt like every single time you saw a Ranger in the cockpit, they had one-liners like, "Yeah, bro, get him! Oh my god, yeah, we just took him out, son." And it was really weird by the end of that. I didn't like the fact that Goldar was a gigantic beast instead of the actual cool-looking Goldar from the original series. And just when they had the Power Rangers movie, or the Power Rangers music out of nowhere, "Go, go, Power Rangers!" Like, it felt so shoehorned in. I guess it's part of the cheese and part of the fun, but to me, it kind of stood out a little bit. So, this is an absolutely... It's just making it in to go out and buy it because I had so much fun with this. On the technical aspect, it's probably see it in Netflix because it's going to be very subjective on whether or not you're going to love this movie or not. If you're a Power Rangers fan from back in the day, definitely go out and buy it. If you have no interest in Power Rangers, then yeah, check it out on Netflix. You might be surprised. You know who you are. Well, that's all the Blu-rays. That's my collection for this month, guys. Thank you for checking out another episode of Off the Shelves. Something that I forgot to go into at the beginning of this video, but I want to go into it again here. As always, like I've done the past couple of months, my Amazon affiliate links will be down in the description below. If you want to purchase any of these movies, I will have the link down below where you can get it from Amazon. It's a great way to not only add to your collection, but help support this channel, because everything that you buy using my Amazon links, and it doesn't cost you any more than it would if you went to Amazon.com yourself, I get a kickback for that, and it helps really support this channel financially. It helps me do a lot more than what I'm able to do now. So definitely, if you're planning on buying any of these, or really anything on Amazon, you can click a Power Rangers link and go and buy a suit for next weekend, or a mattress, or some clothes, or whatever you want to buy. A toothbrush, it doesn't even matter. If you use one of my links, I'll get a kickback from that. So it's a great way to support my channel. Thank you if you do go and do that. And as always, guys, please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button on your way out if you're not already a subscriber. Links for my social medias pages will be down below for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and my Patreon page, which is another great way to support this channel financially, and it allows me to do a lot more with this channel, bring you guys a lot more cool stuff, give me a lot more justification for the time and the effort that goes into these videos. And I also have a lot of exclusive stuff for patrons only, so you will have a lot more opportunities to not only support this channel, but be a part of this channel and get things directly from this channel for your eyes. So check out the Patreon page. If you want to check out some more of these videos, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.